Hello everybody and welcome back to Tome Raider. I'm Ollie Johnson, I'm here with Dan. How you doing, Dan?
Um, I'm okay. I don't want to say it's warm in here, but an evil Malar has been here the last week.
Yeah. Oh,
How are you doing? Other than, puddle.
Puddle. Also very tired because it gets even more stuffy at night and I can't sleep. But, yeah, I'm fine. There's no delirium here. Got your...
Yet.
Yeah.
That comes that comes tomorrow, I suspect.
uh, well, this week for Tome Raider, discussing Animorphs the Visitor by K.A. Applegate. The second
Yeah.
book in the Animorphs series. And
Yeah. And our second perspective of five.
yes, it's Rachel this week.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's it was an interesting book, I must admit. Though what I'm about to say is probably closer to the thing at the end. Thing we discussed towards the end more because it felt a bit more. I don't know if human is the word for it, but because it
Personal,
was,
I think would
yes,
be a good one.
yeah, it's. I think it's because it's not having to set up everything. It had a bit more space for some character moments as opposed to the sort of
Mm.
like it the last one oh God Almighty, how have I forgotten it other than the obvious answer of it's as hot as Mordor. Oh,
Yeah.
but it's yes, the first book still managed to have plenty of character moments, but it was still setting up everything. And while some more things were revealed in this that hint to the greater world building, it's not in the same sort of here. We've got to tell you everything because the Underlight has just crashed, and we need to explain what the threat is to you.
Yeah, we
And
need to
and
explain what the
in
hell is going on.
and there is a literal in-story time limit of about 10 minutes to get all this information to you.
Yeah. But well, each book allows for the fact that it might be the first one you pick up. So they do sort of each one have a similar introduction, skim over the basics. Uh, so
Yeah,
the beginnings can get a bit repetitive, but you're never lost, even if it is the first one you pick up.
yeah, it's sort of with that like written style and like the beginning of it where they talk about out it. It's almost like found diary, sort of like how you have found footage films.
Yeah,
Is sort of like they don't know what order you're going to find them in. Like these things could be discovered in
yeah,
from it.
yeah.
So it has a bit more of that thing because it's got a lot more going on than just the hey. Oh no, that thought's just run away from me. But yeah, but it's got the greater sort of like overarching story than the average found footage film will have to it because that tries to limit itself to about an hour and a half to 2 hours, whereas this is a 3 hour audiobook as an average.
Yeah. Well, 3.5 probably around that. I never
Yeah,
I never listen to like these particular books on normal speed, to be honest. So, but yeah. So this one is from Rachel's perspective, Jake's cousin. It's implied.
yeah.
It's not stated how long after the first one it was. I don't think, but it's implied that it's not been very long.
I think it's meant to be about a week.
About a week.
Yeah, or at the
Yeah.
very least, that's the thing according to the wiki that I brought up to for certain details on it. It's just a little over a week.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, it comes in and they're all actually birds at the moment.
Yes, we start off in bird morph. Bird.
Yeah, Tobias has basically convinced them all to morph into birds and try flying to forget like the stress of, you know, alien invasion. You're the only ones who are aware. One of your brothers is a yerk. Your deputy head teacher is a yerk, or deputy principal, or as it's in the
Assistant
US.
principal.
That's it, as they're in the US.
Chapman, the man of chaps.
Yeah. Very
We
popular at the leather bars.
we don't know that Chapman actually wears chaps. It's never expressly stated that he doesn't.
It's also never expressly stated that he does.
Yeah.
But no, it is Chapman, a very popular leather-clad superhero in certain bars.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, we start with the 5 in bird morph. I believe Rachel herself, who is the POV character for this book, is a bald eagle.
Yeah, she's an eagle. Jake, I think, is a peregrine falcon.
Yeah, I think Marco and Cassie are ospreys.
Yeah, they are technically the same offspring.
Yeah, I'm sure that doesn't get confusing.
Yeah, because they got the DNA from the same one. So Rachel can't actually tell them apart when they're morphed because they are the same bird.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's actually something. One of the central problems in the heart of this book actually is the fact that they need to actually keep the animal they got a morph off of away from its home for a while, otherwise the whole thing is rumbled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're flying and they hear a sort of a whizzing past them.
Yeah, and they realise that 2 drunk people are shooting at them from the nearby woods they can see.
2 drunk teenagers. So they use their human intelligence to sort of slip out of sight and get the drop on them. And freak them out a bit because a baldy and I think towards the beginning Rachel said, "I'm a bald eagle. I'm a national symbol. You can't shoot at me."
Yeah, I think also endangered animal is in there as well for at least one of them. Possibly Tobias's red-tailed kite, I think, was meant to be endangered. They said I can't remember offhand exactly.
Yeah.
But
the image of a bald eagle flanked by 2 ospreys, a red-tailed hawk, and a peregrine falcon just descending upon you. The bald eagle snatches the rifle out of your hand.
And the peregrine falcon steals the beer.
Yeah. And then throws it into the trash like from a great height.
Yeah, it's rather expertly drops it into the trash for a great height.
Seb says, if I was an Animorphs, I'd smoke a cigarette as a cat just to fuck with people. I had to.
To be honest, I would not be surprised. That does not surprise me, Seb.
He said, I had to alter it to say cigarette because Twitch thinks I'm advocating a hate crime. Oh.
Yeah. But they then drop the rifle in the sea, and then they all return to a church tower, I think it is, or something like that. Somewhere where there's not a lot of people at this time, and their clothes are waiting for them there. And we learn that they've all since learnt how to morph with essentially the lycra clothing.
Yeah.
So that they're all not horrendously embarrassed when they're forced to morph in front of each other as teenagers, because it's just sort of like, girl, boy, shirts off. No, we don't want to see that.
In the intervening 2 weeks, I've read books 12 and 13. They still haven't managed to figure out shoes.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd be surprised if they figure it out before sort of like halfway through the series.
I think you'd need some sort of onesie to that effect, with the
Yeah.
shoes as part of it, for that to work.
Yeah, but they do morph. Marco complains a bit about how like they don't have sort of a matching look. How like the bad the fashion is of it when they're all there.
Yeah.
And there is a bit of Marvel superhero banter going on because of course also Fantastic Four and X-Men are. I think they both have animations on at the moment, or at least the X-Men certainly would in
Yeah.
'96.
So kids of that age at that time would know about them.
Yeah.
Ki-
Well, Fantastic Four is sort of Marvel's
Oh,
leading family.
Yep.
Or
I would use
Marvel's
these
third.
powers for Prankton and save the one of them. That can you speak normally in animal form? No, you can only speak telepathically in animal form, but you can speak telepathically to anyone you direct your thoughts at.
Yeah.
I was thinking to.
But, yeah, but after the bit of levity, there is some guilt felt during this.
Over Tobias, well,
Yeah,
not being human anymore, effectively.
Yeah, not being able to morph back because of his thing, and because he overstayed the limit, and they sort of decide that they will try and keep to only an hour and a half, just to be absolutely sure, or like they avoid it, and then immediately it's sort of like abandoned twice in this one, well, 3 times actually in this one.
Yeah.
And they did answer a question I had about morphing later on, and I'll mention that when we get closer to that point.
Yeah. So does I would become a cow, walk past someone's window, and telepathically call them a wanker just because it would really confuse them. Oh.
What you'd have to do is then just be at the window looking in, just chewing grass, and then possibly lick the window. Yeah.
The reason these kids don't do anything like that is because you never know who's got a brain slug in them, and all of the brain slugs know about morphing.
Yeah. So they discuss the plan to go after the Yerk pool again and destroy the Candonian?
Candrona, I think, is
the rays that the Yerks need to stay alive.
Yeah.
They concluded it's not a great idea because they don't actually know what it looks like. Marco suggests it's small enough that Visa-Free will be carrying it round with them the whole time to keep it safe, if needs be. But Tobias says from his impression he got from Prince Elfangor, it's quite a large thing.
Yeah. I mean, they've seen a Yerk pool. Like, I don't think you could carry anything that would need in your pocket.
Yeah. Well, unknown capabilities of alien technology. I mean, they had the cube which just was big enough for the 5 of them to put their hands on one side each, and now they can turn into animals, so...
Yeah. Yeah, fair point.
Unknown capabilities of yeah.
Although it is revealed that the door they got in last time has been sealed.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
But,
and they look at look at Jake as if it's sort of like, and you're only telling us this now, and it's just sort of like, well, I don't think they're actually aware that he's even checked that whether the door's there or not.
Would it be weird if you were an animal if you became a cow and ate a beef burger because you're still human? I don't know whether the cow's instincts would allow you to easily do that. Because you have the animal's instincts in your head with you.
Yeah, and that's even ignoring the abomination of nature that equals Burger Squared and the Simpsons Zombie Apocalypse number 5 or 6 in Halloween Treehouse of Horror ones, cows just don't have the instinct to eat meat, really.
Yeah.
But they also determine that or decide that they're not going to follow Tom to find another entrance to the Yerk pool because they don't want to pose a risk to Tom, or Jake doesn't want to pose a risk to Tom with them figuring out that he's how they're getting to finding the entrances to the Yerk pools.
Because if they figure out that the host has been compromised, they will just kill him and put his Yerk in another head.
Yeah. So they decide that they're going to get intel via Chapman. Because, as it turns out, Rachel has been a long-term friend of Chapman's daughter, Melissa.
Yeah. Who has been very distant lately, and Rachel isn't sure why. Although, well, she has an inkling as to why. Which is correct. But, yeah, she does want to, she does want to get to the bottom of this to see if she can help her in any way. And the inn, the inn that she has is as they look at a photo of the two of them when they're kids, playing with her cat.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a brief bit before that where they both share gymnastics class, and Melissa is actually the only ones who has sort of a chance for it to go further than just this is an interest.
Yeah.
She tries to utilize this class as a way to get in at first, by asking whether she'd like to join her going shopping afterwards. So she needs to buy some new trainers.
There isn't a hangover for the animal instincts, but like you can have trauma responses to things that happen while you were in morph. Such as in the last book, Jake having to scarf down a load of nachos because when the lizard brain took over, he nommed a spider.
To be fair, he's still not entirely happy with that in this book. That's just over a week later. But
and Seb says, I hold this series in esteem because it often answers my ludicrous questions that it probably doesn't have to answer. It's quite well thought out.
Yeah, it has predicted your bullshit by 30 years. Because this book also came out in June '96.
Ah, yes. So this is another 30th anniversary. Actually, at the rate we're going, probably a lot of them will be.
Yeah, because it all came out very quickly. Like, it was... K. Applegate to put them out very rapidly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have to issue a correction, actually. I said the first 5 and 6 were her. According to Wikipedia, it was about the first 25 or so that were all K.A. Applegate.
Yeah.
That's like a book a month for 2 solid years.
Yeah. But,
that is amazing.
Yeah, it is spectacular. Rachel does berate herself for not noticing how much Melissa has changed and with them drifting apart. And she does wonder whether she's a controller. But she doesn't go to the mall as she said she was planning to, and as she had actually said to her mum. She was going to, and the plan was she'd call to be picked up there via the medium of payphone, because this is the mid-90s.
Yeah.
But instead she walks home, and we get a depressing reminder of what men are like when they see someone who... Because Rachel is conventionally attractive. Like, she's described as sort of like people thinking that she might it could be a model one day, a couple of times.
Yeah.
So she's walking home on her own, and she's being
Yeah.
pestered by late high school, early college aged man.
In a car.
Yeah, who's determined to get her to into the car, and she doesn't put up with this bullshit and starts morphing into an elephant.
Yeah.
When just out of sight, and sort of does the "Do you still think I'm pretty now?" thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he runs as fast as he can to his own car.
Well, she said, I wanted to say something like, so you still want to go for that ride? But all I ended up saying was something like, roar!
Yeah, because she partially morphed. She didn't
Yeah.
morph all the way, because they can stop part morph off, and it's not just Cassie who can do that now. It's taken Rachel just over a week to learn to do that.
Yeah.
And indeed, they actually said Cassie seems to have enough control over her morph. While she can't do shoes, she can definitely make herself look less of a flesh horror when she's morphing than the others.
Could you stop part morph to fuck with people even more? I mean, you can stop part morph. They never do it on purpose.
Except this time. This
Yeah.
time was actually on purpose.
Yeah. Apart from this time, they never do it on purpose.
Yeah, but Cassie displayed her control over it by the fact that she Marco said something along the lines of, "When we transform, we all look like sort of flesh horrors. When she transforms, she looks like an angel," which would suggest that Marco also has feelings for Cassie. But but Rachel also uses like the descriptor because the last part of her to transform when they're morphing back from birds, is she basically has the wings at like full size for a human until the very end when she finally morphs her arms back to normal. So that's why they had the angel descriptor for it.
To the point where I think it's Jake asks her if she could fly like that, and she's like, well, no, I weigh like 80 pounds. These wings weren't built for that weight.
Yeah. Rachel then morphs back from the elephant, curses as she realised she forgot to kick her shoes off, and she went from I think they said something like size 8 to a size 300 in about 10 seconds. The shoes did not survive it.
Yeah.
And she then goes back out onto the road, and it started raining, and another person comes up in the car to bother her. It's Chapman and Melissa, and he's offering a lift.
Chapman!
Yes.
In the Chapmobile. I don't... Oh.
Yeah. There is... This now causes her to worry. Did Chapman see her morph? Because if so, then the jig is up.
Yeah, she's rumbled.
Yeah. Melissa does not seem keen on actually giving Rachel a lift.
Could you stop transforming halfway up your body to become a centaur? Yes, you could. In fact, I think Cassie does that in the previous book. Only it's just the head.
Yeah. So Chapman drops her off, and she then calls up the other Animorphs, asking do they want to come over and listen to the new album, because of course Tom is a yerk and he could be on a different extension listening in on his brother's conversations.
Yes, so they have to be a bit clandestine.
Yeah, so they're talking about this. She's getting a bit berated a bit for the stupid risk she took, because at the moment the main thing that's keeping them safe is that the Yerks think that a group of Andalites has survived the destruction of their ship. They don't know that a group of humans have this ability yet.
And if they did, it would be very bad for them. Yeah.
Yeah. But while they're discussing sort of like the next plan, Rachel's looking over a photo frame with multiple photos in it, and as Ollie said, this is where she spots they're in to sort of how can they spy on Chapman without sort of Melissa Rachel getting close to Melissa again, which doesn't seem to be happening.
Melissa has a cat.
Yes, after this one attempt at trying to get close to them, they throw out, friendship and this, and go, well, no, you know what? Well, she has a cat. We'll acquire. We'll use that.
Yeah. A tomcat by the name of Fluffer McKitty.
Yeah, Fluffer McKitty.
Which is a fantastic child's name for a cat.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be sort of like, what was it? 7th, 8th birthday?
Yeah. That night they set out to acquire Fluffer McKitty's DNA.
Yeah, which doesn't exactly go to plan. Tobias is serving as lookout, but he is also just sort of like mice, shrews, mice, rats, cat, sort of thing. He's aware of a lot more that's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
And
so their plan becomes to entice Fluffer out with a small animal, like a mouse. Tobias brings back a shrew, and because that's not a mouse, it's a shrew. He goes, "Is that bad?" She goes, "I don't know. I just know it's not a mouse."
Yeah, and they also determine that there's a bit of a problem that if Fluffers has not been neutered, because he will be pound for pound the most violent thing that they're in the area. Basically, an unneutered tomcat. They confirmed that he's not when he's basically when they first try and grab him, and he just scratches everyone up.
Yeah.
He gets close, and Rachel morphs into the shrew because they decide like the best way to catch him is to one of them be the shrew because logic.
Yeah.
But she morphs into the shrew, and then she is aware of the smell of a rotting animal and is very tempted by it and sort of the maggots in it and such.
Yeah.
But before she can bolt off for that, she just about manages to get control of the shrew brain, and then suddenly, cat, attack, and then just manages to survive the cat attack and then get Fluffer's morph.
Yeah. But luckily, the others were on standby to apprehend the cat.
Yes, and she then gets Fluffer's morph and turns into Fluffers.
That was the loudest opening of a can I've ever heard. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what this mic's going to pick up and what it isn't.
Yeah, and
I don't suppose you can hear the fan in the background, can you? It doesn't appear to be picking up on the... I mean, I can't hear it on the stream.
Yeah.
Really inconsistent what this picks up.
Yeah, but,
it is a very good mic.
Yeah, so Rachel is now Fluffers and almost has a panic attack when Tobias flies because apparently cats genetically hardwired to be wary about Big Bird shadow.
Yeah. So Tobias keeps his distance. But doesn't look like he's trying to keep his distance. He flies casual.
Yes. Yeah, but we also learned that there isn't sort of a great actual range to the telepathy, because
Yeah.
Rachel absolutely loves the feeling of being a cat, and she is warned before she does this to be wary, because the confidence of a cat combined with her own natural confidence means they think she's likely to make a mistake.
They're not wrong.
Yeah, definitely not when it comes to the second time, but the first time I'd say less so, but she doesn't learn from the experience. So she sneaks into the house. No, she loves the feeling of being a cat and does wonder whether any of the sort of acrobatics work she's doing as a cat, like the jumping and all of that, will actually carry over to herself. Sort of like, does this count as towards my 10,000 steps sort of
Yeah.
thing? Or do I get the benefit of this? And the answer, I'm assuming, is no, given that they can come from near death to fine by morphing back. So I would
Yeah.
assume not. Oh, but she sneaks in, and they seem to be behaving vaguely normally, the parents at first.
Except for the fact that Chapman is sitting on the couch looking at the TV with the TV off.
Yeah, it's when you get past the first glance that things are odd. And Mrs. Chapman is in the kitchen doing the dishes, not humming, not talking to herself, no radio, nothing. There is just the only sound in the house is pretty much breathing and any noise that Melissa is making upstairs doing her homework, which Rebecca can hear. No, not Rebecca, Rachel.
Yeah. And
Oh, this is actually another night from when they claimed Fluffer's DNA. They have.
yeah, they decided that the 2 morphs required to do that was too much work for one night. So they came back fresh next time.
And Rachel had a nightmare where she was a shrew noticing a dead cat and eating maggots. And we learned one of the side effects of the technology is after you've acquired sort of your first the DNA for the first time and have morphed for the first time into them, it seems, or at least after you acquired the DNA, you get some weird dreams
Yeah.
from this.
And
And
Jake confirms that it's not just Rachel, it happens to all of them.
yeah, like had it with the lizard. He much preferred when he when he had it with the tiger. He goes, "Oh, you're just powerful and hunting, yeah." As
Yeah.
opposed to which is lizard, ah, pick, run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah.
but yeah. So they've infiltrated. Melissa's having trouble with her homework. Chapmans are doing normal activities weirdly, like sitting in a chair watching TV with no TV and doing dishes in complete silence. And
Well, Melissa comes down and asks for help with her homework and is blown off, basically.
yeah, that is a tiny bit later, but that does happen because but around 8 o'clock, Chapman suddenly gets up and makes his way to the basement, and Rachel follows him. And he then goes to a white door, goes through it, and she darts through quickly. And he's then just sitting inside the small room there with a contraption on the wall. And suddenly, an Andalite's visage appears in a holographic form. And
Yeah.
they realise that Chapman is checking in with Visa 3. And they also find something odd that it's not thought speech. The technology is translating its telepathy into normal speech.
Yeah.
Because
Cause,
Andalites don't have mouths, so
yeah.
they can't talk normally.
Well, it's established that you can't broadcast thought speech long distance.
Yeah. Or, unlike a force choking a motherfucker, you can't transfer it through a hologram.
I was just about to bring that up. You beat me by 1 second.
Yes. You cannot force choke a mother. You can force choke a motherfucker, but you can't read their mind, apparently, or transmit your force. We also learn a bit about Yerk naming conventions, because we learn that the Yerk inside Chapman is called Inis 226.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's a sort of pool or batch or generation,
Yeah.
and another in the generation pool or batch or
Well,
whatever.
I think well, I think Visser is a rank because in the last book he brags about how if he succeeds here he'll be Visser 1. So he's currently Visser 3.
Yeah.
So I assume that's a rank, but Innis 226, they make reference to another Innis or Innis shortly after. We'll get to that. But
Yeah. So that's my thinking, because Visor, sort of like the way it's been said by others, does suggest rank as opposed to name.
yeah,
It's just
I'm not even sure they have names. I think they might entirely refer to each other by rank, because it's one of those kinds of empires, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Well, the line said earlier is "Welcome, Visor. Emis 226 of the Slupnari pool submits you. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you."
and yeah, he says, and you as well. But he clearly doesn't. He's clearly not as nice about it. And he asks Chapman for a report, and he starts talking about some new recruits he has. It's like, do I sound like I care about new recruits? I mean, what are you doing to apprehend the Andalite bandits?
Yeah, and it's just all like, yeah, it's shortly after this, like, what are you doing to the Andalite bandits? Is talking, and then Visor just sort of turns slightly. The hologram turns and goes, "What is that?" And it's Rachel in the cat. It's just sort of like, that is a cat. It is the sort of domesticated version of an apex predator on this planet, sort of thing. So it's just sort of like, kill it. And Rachel is panicking for a moment, but Fluffer's mind sort of comes up, because Visifree has no
Yeah.
smell, doesn't really show up to the cat senses, so isn't real. Cat brain is calm and doesn't react to the fact it's just the human brain has registered that they've said kill me, and just sort of reacts with a
Yeah.
and this actually
Which
buys a bit of time.
Yeah, it's lucky because if Rachel had reacted to the Visser's command to kill her, they'd have known that she wasn't really a cat.
Yeah, and the Visifree is constantly telling Chapman to kill them. And Chapman does actually grab them at one point, and gets clawed for the effort, and then the cat, then Rachel Fluffers just dodges aside. And Visser is just sort of like, I like these animals. You're still gonna have to kill it. It has my respect, but it still has to die.
Yeah. And Chapman goes, but if I kill it, it will anger the girl, and that could damage my cover or draw attention. And he's just like, fine, let it live.
But he does also, at this point, issue a warning of us. You don't want to cover, but if you do not, if you displease me, if something goes wrong on your watch, this is your fate, sort of thing. And he transforms into an alien, which puts a the fear of God into Inis 226.
Yeah.
Or Inis 226. And it turns into a weird purpley tube monster. And it goes to another human controller.
Or at
With
least a
another,
recording of one. It shows
uh,
Chapman a recording of another human controller, and this tube monster sucks the yerk out of the host's head and eats it.
yeah, it sort of dissolves in it almost immediately, I think.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what its alien name is, but it's referred to as a yerkbane.
Yerk space.
Like,
Oh, what was it?
which I would hazard a guess that there are not many of them left in the galaxy, if the Yerks have anything to say about it. Because it seems they have the ability to draw the Yerk out against the Yerk's will.
Yeah.
Yeah. But after this meeting and this close call for Rachel, they leave this room after Visifree goes, and Anise speaks to Mrs. Chapman, who is also, we learn, is a human controller, about the thing, and like Visifree is wanting news on the Andalite bandits. I have nothing to say. And oh yeah, he turned into this creature. In which that's how we learn that they call Yerkbane, because she reacts with a Yerkbane? Or something along those lines.
Hold on, let's see if I can find the name. Let's see. The Visitor. Let's see. Of a Nox.
Okay.
It's a suddenly Visitor. He morphed into a Vanox, a Yerkbane. He kept his voice low. 2, he glanced towards the stairs. I guess he was checking to see if Melissa was around. Mr. Chapman shuddered. I'd heard that he acquired a Vanox. I always thought it was just another story to frighten his underlings. He showed me. He showed how he destroyed Innis 174. And then Mr. Chapman acts shocked like this, like, he used a Vanox on an Innis of the 2nd century? I assume that means high ranking.
Yeah, yeah, we don't know how the naming structure works, and even a quick look on the wiki doesn't give any hints for how like names and titles work.
Yeah. And this is when Melissa comes down to ask for help with her homework, as you say. Yeah.
And they're both sort of no. Your father will check in with you before you go to bed, and then if you haven't done it figured out by then he'll help you then. It's sort of like on the guise of it, and yeah, and Rachel decides to go up and check on Melissa after this, basically. And
this is essentially Rachel's radicalization moment.
Yeah, because when she's in there, she nuzzles up to Melissa, and Melissa asks, what did she do to make her parents stop loving her? And breaks down as it is. And it's when they figure out that the Yerks controlling them cannot simulate parental affection or love. It's sort of implied because they do not love themselves. Like, they are a species incapable of love, but this is the sort of thing where they'll go with species incapable of, and then, like, 30 books later, they go, actually, no, we are capable of deep love. It's just in a way you don't understand. So I'm
gonna chalk it up of they are
Yeah.
incapable of simulating how we would understand love.
Well, whatever the case, Melissa knows that something has changed, and she doesn't know why.
Yeah, and Rachel is galvanized in that moment, radicalized. That was the word, not galvanized. That's a.
Well, that is also applicable.
It's also applicable, but it was my brain was going. Isn't that also a method of treating steel, galvanized steel? But yeah, uh, she is gets very angry and radicalized over the idea of like all the kids and all the parents who will be experiencing suddenly like, what did I do wrong? Why don't they love me anymore?
Yeah.
Or
And
thing, reaffirms her decision, and
she decides then and there that she is, well, she's all in on this whole crusade thing.
yeah. It's also during this we learn. She also pushes it a bit. She only has about 10 minutes or so when she leaves till she hits the timer.
Yeah, because she
'Cause-
stays to comfort Melissa.
yeah, because she stays to comfort Melissa, and she waits for Melissa to fall asleep before she leaves after this. So she actually spent most of her time as Fluffers McKitty, comforting Melissa while the actual Fluffers, is out and about somewhere
Yeah.
because he goes between, and yeah. So the next day, Rachel gives the debrief. Oh, no, that was the thing I was going to say. Hey, this is also where we learn roughly the range of it, of like the thought speech is not great because Tobias is by the house, on the house sort of thing, and he can barely get to her when she's going down the stairs to the basement.
Yeah, so the range is probably about 30 feet,
Yeah, but
if that.
possibly if you can see them, it's further.
Yeah.
Or if you are more experienced with it, like Visor 3 was able to do a much greater range, but that could also be because he's an Andalite and that's their natural way of communication,
Yeah.
whereas that's an artificial way of communicating. So we don't know, but it's not much. That's because later on in the story they're not able to communicate. Like Rachel is not able to communicate with Marco and Cassie. While in thought, but
Oh, Seb
that's
said a
also
while ago, I
probably-
missed it, maybe the dog from Little Britain, USA was an Animorph. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember watching Little Britain USA.
I think I did once or twice, I just don't remember the sketch he's talking about.
Yeah,
The one
yeah,
that ordered its owner to poop. Oh, that one. Yeah. Well, no, I think that was revealed to be the owner talking.
yeah, but
Sorry, where were we?
yeah, Rachel then goes in the next day. They meet up, and Rachel gives a debrief. Tobias is suspicious. Yes, and Rachel notices that he seems to be projecting his thoughts to Cassie alone a couple of times through it. Rachel gives some of the details, but doesn't mention that Visifree A spotted her and B ordered Chapman to kill her several times.
Because, well, she knows that if she mentions that, they'll never let her go back in there.
Yeah. Yeah, there had actually been some joking earlier on, and it is a relevant thing to joke about. When Jake was confessing to Rachel about the dreams, it's just sort of like the two of them go, "Oh, I dread when one of us has to take on a bug form." And And when I think it's about 3 or 4 days later, Rachel's trying this again because it's just sort of like this, and Jake doesn't join them on this meetup when they're doing it because he's been grounded. They go, well, we're going to have to adapt to not all of us being available at every single time. We've got to do something.
Yeah.
So she transforms into Cat after being wished luck, pat on the back from Cathy,
Yeah.
and stuff, with Tobias giving urging caution. And I was going to say giving a lecture, but that's not true. And she goes back in again around the same time because she figures it must be a regular thing if sort of reporting in. And she goes down, follows in, manages to get down. And then while she's going down and the cat, Chapman stops and turns to look. And she's like following just behind his feet. So she has to dodge aside and hide behind a box. And then is given the fright of her life when suddenly she can hear Jake talking to her at basically point blank range.
It turns out he's morphed a flea.
Yep, he's in for some bad dreams tonight.
Although it turns out there's very little to the flea mind, so he's actually fine.
Yeah, it's just going to be some weird dreams. He's like, if they learn sort of like the limits of the flea's senses is he is vaguely aware of blood and movement, and that's about it.
Yeah.
It's like he's aware he's on her, and he's aware when something big appears because he can sense the blood, so there's or smell the blood or whatever. And he can't hear anything really. So he goes through with on Rachel's back, and they go into the room, and she starts to hide under the table that the device is sitting on that makes the holograms to listen in. And Visifree is again not happy with these things, with how it goes on, and is sort of chewing out Innis 226. When he moves his foot, Rachel is distracted and see it, gets kicked basically, giving her away that she is there, which then basically goes, oh, that's definitely an Andalite.
Yeah.
And she puts up a fight in which Visifree again, and it comments his like of the cat as sort of an animal, or just like their scrappy spirit and stuff. But it's just sort of like, bring me that Andalite cat, and also bring me the daughter. It's about time that she had a yerk put in her. At least 5 something something. There you go. I believe it's from the same spawning portal as you.
Yeah. And then Innis 226 loses control a bit because Chapman is fighting.
Yeah. Innis 226 loses control after Visifree has gone communications ended. They've put Rachel and Cat Carrier, and he's again speaking with Mrs. Chapman, and both of them are suddenly having host rebellion, I think they call it, or something like that.
Yeah.
Where the host is struggling to take over for a year, in which apparently, in another thing that is similar with the Goa'uld from Stargate 8, a host is trying to take control of the body. This is apparently something that has never successfully happened before, but it definitely sort of, so a host never completely subsumes the yerk instead of the other way round.
Yeah.
But we've seen like hints of it of where a host is causing problems for the Yeerk, and it goes on, and they both manage to suppress their hosts, but it's clearly taken a lot out of both of them.
Yeah.
And he decides to 226 decides to take Rachel, unknowingly also taking Jake, of course, and to explain to Vizor that it will be an issue to take the girl as a host. As we learn, Chapman, it's sort of stated first here, but we get more details later, so I'll just do all the details now. We learn that Chapman is a voluntary host,
But he's not. He's not a willing voluntary host. He was coerced.
Yeah, he was coerced by his wife, who is a completely willing host at first, because she thinks this would have just solved all the problems she was having. He became a host so that Melissa wouldn't be taken as a host.
That was the deal he made.
Yeah, that was the deal, and Vizor 3 is clearly going against it. And there was a bit of conversation with Vizor 3 already about this fact, but the fact that Rachel was found sort of put that to the back a bit, and he's just sort of like, bring me the Andalite and bring me the girl, cuts communication. And Melissa has actually come down just after this, and while he's leaving, and she says, like, why have you got fluffers in the carrier? Daddy, why are you taking fluffers? It's going sort of like, her hurt is coming through, and she is going a lot of it. And Rachel is going, Tobias, I need a distraction. We need fluffers.
The real one.
Yeah. So Tobias basically takes a swipe at fluffers and sends them flying back home in fear from the large bird that's attacking them.
And Fluffer gets a shock when he looks into the cage and sees himself.
Yeah, but the point of this was not to so much give Rachel a chance to escape, which is what I thought it was going to be at first. Get Fluffers here and then have the red kite knock the carrier out and hopefully open the door. Or Tobias, not the red kite. But that wasn't the plan. The plan was to have the real Fluffers turn up so that Melissa would essentially not push things more, which would cause Innis 226 to drag her along, even though he didn't want to, but he would do it if he had to at that point.
Yeah.
And he then says about this is just it's not Fluffers, it's another cat. I'm just taking them to the vet so we can see if they're chipped and return them to their owner. Melissa has
But she's like, why didn't you say that? And Chapman goes, sorry, I didn't notice you. She goes, but I was crying.
Yeah, and Tokyo, and literally standing in his way. Do you need emergency clothes for after the transformation? Depends on if you know you're transforming or not.
If they're wearing their skin-tight leotards and clothes like that, they will have something on when they turn back, but not shoes.
Yeah. It's implied very much that they now are always wearing the skin-tight leotards.
Yeah.
Or something underneath. But if they know they're going to transform for a mission, they will shed out of their clothes if they're going to transform into something bigger. If they're transforming into something smaller, then they just sort of fall off of them. So they only need emergency clothes if they're not expecting to transform, and they have to transform into something bigger on short notice, like the partial elephant morph earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's implied for these morphs into Jake into the flea and Rachel into Fluffers. The rest of the gang should have their clothes. Should. It's not sort of covered in this so much, but in this one in particular, whether the clothes were abandoned or not. But yeah. Oh yeah, Mrs. Chapman's Yerk is also on the side of not having Melissa become a controller at this point, but that's not because her point of it is we can't risk Chapman having a contest of wills in public.
Yeah, he is a very public host. He occupies an important position in the lives of their children, and if he starts twitching and like fighting himself, like all it would take is to like a few all it would take to compromise his position is a few unfortunate twitches in public.
Yeah. So,
and I just had a mental image of like a parent-teacher meeting where he just suddenly lashes out and punches the one across the desk.
Yeah, that's the thing, and so Rachel and Jake, Rachel's also realised something was soon to realise something worrying. Even they get taken to the nearest landing site, which turns out to be the abandoned construction site from the first book, where Prince Elfangor was killed and they all became Animorphs in the first place. And the Blade Ship and a pair of bug fighters come down, and Bits of Free comes out. He's annoyed that Melissa isn't there and questions a bit. And this explains about the resistance, and while he's down, he will fight, and then says, "The host wishes to address you directly. Will you accept?"
And he does.
He does, and the Chapman takes a while to come round, or like a few seconds, sort of come round and be able to speak properly, and he can't really hold himself up too much. He's quite weak after the effort of trying to take over, and he basically forces Visser to stick to the deal, or it's just sort of like, I won't fight as long as Melissa stays free, but you can bet that the moment you try to put a yerk in Melissa, I will fight every moment I can to ruin my own standing, basically, and expose as much of your plans as possible. And frankly, instead of killing him, which is what like Visser seems to be default solution to every problem, is Visser killing them.
Yeah.
He actually agrees to stick to the original deal. Or there is the implication of for now, but it's not stated out loud. Otherwise, he would have had a contention. And he also chooses this out for sort of like, do you think the human mind you are suppressing is harder to keep under control than the Andalite mind I am suppressing? No, that's not the case. But Chapman is important to our plans, and we can't have him appearing crazy, basically.
Yeah, he specifically says that people associate the kind of twitches that Host Rebellion brings out with mental illness. And he has a position of responsibility that they would not let him keep in that situation.
Yeah. There's also a bit of a subtext that this 226 wants to say, well, it's all right for you. You just hide up on the bloody spaceship all the time. I actually have to blend in.
Yeah.
But he's not going to say that to someone who could turn into a yerk babe.
No.
So he might get eaten and the host might be given to someone else.
Yeah.
But the fact he's brought one of the Andalite bandits does seem to have also brought him a fair amount, or brought them a fair amount of leeway.
You know how you can't talk into an animal? What if you morph into a parrot that can talk? I don't know. As far as I've read, that has not come up. But
Oh,
well, I won't spoil it for Dan actually.
yeah. Well, as far as I understand from parrots sort of talking, it's as much pattern recognition, which I suppose language is advanced pattern recognition sort of things. I know what that string of nonsense is meant to mean, but it's the parrot's sort of the part of the brain that comprehends language in the parrot is not the same for when they're. It's not the same part of the brain lighting up of when they're imitating human speech as to when they're communicating amongst their own kind. I don't think.
Although if you also had a human brain in there, who can tell?
Yeah. Well, K.A. Applegate.
Yeah.
they would get to decide, but from my knowledge so far, no. But I have read 2 books out of 54.
I have read 13 books out of 54.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
so yeah, Visser 3 agrees to take the deal, but then there is still, so Melissa's safe for now, but there is still the matter of Rachel is a cat. She's rapidly approaching the 2-hour time limit, and Visser 3 fully intends to torture her to death.
Yeah, and okay, on the parrot thing, it's sort of like again, from my understanding of it, it's not the same parts of the brain that are going up. It's like when they communicate amongst their own kind. So it's sort of like it's a task they recognize, but it's not necessarily the same as language is to them. And bridging the 2 parts of the brain is the complicated bit that I don't know whether that would work or not.
If it does happen in the books, I'll let you know.
Yeah, we will come back to that one. Yeah, but Rachel is carried up onto the Blade ship.
But before that, though, she demands that Jake get off.
Yeah, Jake does jump off once, so yeah, because he's a few minutes closer to the deadline than she was. Otherwise, Cassie wouldn't have been able to transfer him with the pat on the back I mentioned earlier. I tried to mention this as nonchalantly as the story does. Actually, more nonchalantly than the story does. They have a couple of lines about it.
So Jake is in flea morph on Rachel/Fluffer's back.
Yeah, no. He didn't demand to get off. She demanded that he get off of her. Yeah.
Yeah. As in, leave.
Yeah. Jump off. Go away. Do not be on me anymore. Not get your rocks off. We're not in that part of America. We might be in that part of America. They make a specific point not to say what state they're in. Yeah. I know it doesn't, but there is just there are a limited number of ways you can transfer the phrase "get off," and none of them are brilliant at this.
I want to remix I'm speaking there into a
telling
song.
a plea to "I don't want you on me anymore."
Of course you do, sir. Well, do it and show me.
Yeah.
Just giving him more ammo now, haven't I?
Yeah, we always give Seb more ammo because he will find the phrases that he can use. But, Yeah, so they've been Rachel has been carried aboard the blade ship by a Hawk-Bajir controller.
Yeah.
And oh dear. And yeah, the other Animorphs have apparently been following Chapman's car for this situation, and they're now causing distractions. They are, because this is an abandoned building site, and as still happens nowadays sometimes with abandoned building sites, and I still do not understand it. Probably because the company that owns them is bust and has nowhere else to move them to. But there's still a load of building equipment on the building site, which is like the things I would assume that other companies would have bought out of when a building company goes bust. I assume other companies would rush to get more vehicles from it, even if it was just to take them apart for spare parts to keep their own machines working longer. They actually crushed one of the bug fighters with one of the building machines.
Yeah.
And in this distraction, suddenly a tiger, because Jake has jumped off of this. It's transformed partially, transformed back into human, and then morphed into a tiger. And this answers one of the questions I was thinking about, but also would assume would be addressed as the series went on. Is there a sort of like, how quickly can you go between the morphs, and does the timer more specifically, does the timer reset instantly when you demorph, or do you have to give it some time before, or you're not in that timer again? It is outright stated later in this sequence that Jake does not have to worry about the timer because he demorphed, then morphed into a different animal. Still doesn't answer of could you be a flea, human, and then go straight back into a flea, or any other animal in that combination. But it seems you can morph from one animal into human into another, and you've got another 2 hours.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case.
Yeah, because they outright state in the text that Jake is fine on the timer, even though Rachel is like in the last minute or so of it, so Jake would be over that.
Yeah.
By then. But so the attack, Rachel does a partial morph on her porter hand, so she can just enough so she can work the catch on the cat carrier and get out. Remorphs into a cat because it is not safe for her now, with everyone about. Now that like the diggers are going off, there's suddenly a tiger in here. Yeah, and stuff like that. She doesn't have the safety to morph into a human and then into something else. So she's having to run for the hills. And Visifree is not happy again.
Oh no.
He's never happy. He morphs into a 3-legged rock monster. And he does not seem to care about things. Like, he's destroying a lot of things around him. The only thing he doesn't seem to be destroying or risking damaging is the blade ship. Because he is flattening Taxon and Hawk-Bajir controllers all around the place. Chapman has got out of here already, so he's safe.
He's killed more of his own men than they have at this point.
Yeah, they've not killed a lot, but it was implied in the last one. I don't remember if we brought it up 2 weeks ago or not.
Rock monster.
Yeah. They were on the beach last time, but I don't think they had any towels. I know what you're making reference to, but I am going to answer it as if it's a genuine question. But in the last one, it was implied, because there was the concern about the policeman who knew Cassie had brought her down and such, that he was going to be an issue. But it is implied, because Cassie says he will not be an issue going forward, that Cassie has killed a man.
Yeah.
Which damn, you could only turn into a horse at that point. She can turn into a horse and a bird now, as far as we're aware. But it's just like, damn, that's cold.
I mean, horses kick pretty hard.
Yeah. But Visifree is trying to catch Rachel, or failing that, kill Rachel, and is doing a lot of collateral damage to their own men at this point. He seems to favour, well, he said he was going around for the most dangerous sort of animals in the universe, or the galaxy he was collecting. But of those animals, he seems to favour the larger ones.
Yeah.
So ones that would put elephants to shame.
That's the fundamental difference between Visa 3 and the other Andalites and the Animorphs, because it's stated in the last book that the Andalites view this ability as a means to blend in, so to avoid conflict, whereas Visa 3 is actively using it as a weapon.
Yeah, this is this is the surveillance tool for them when meeting other species. I would not put it past the Andalites to use it in conflict with the Yeerk if they need something that can deal with the numbers quicker. But it has not been stated in either of the two books I've read so far.
No, I can confirm that that's correct, that they will use it in combat if they have to, but they prefer to use their natural bodies to fight with.
Yeah, which, given the demonstration of the wounded Prince Elphegor still managed to command a ship to destroy a bug fighter and take out at least one Hawk-Bajor controller with his tail while mortally wounded. And there is a specific warning that Visifree gives out of watch the Andalite's tail. Because it's sort of a scorpion tail, but moves faster than the eye can follow. It suggests that it takes a fair bit to be beyond their own natural capabilities. But Rachel manages to get away thanks to Tobias coming in for the save, as he grabs her and flies her off. He's obviously struggling, but
well, yeah, I mean, a red-tailed hawk is strong, but
yeah, it's a
full-on tomcat.
Yeah. So manages to get her out of the danger zone and drops her off into trees nearby. Which is apparently further than Visifree is currently willing to go away from the
construction site.
Construction site, yeah.
As reckless as he was being in the construction site, he does still have to maintain cover.
Yeah, there aren't enough human controllers yet on the planet, because it has only been at most 2 weeks since the Andalite arrived. And they said, within a year, the Yeerks will have the planet taken over if you don't fight them. Which is also conveniently slightly shorter than the time that it's predicted the Andalites will be able to come and fight besides humanity against the Yeerk.
Yeah.
In which,
So they've survived the fallout from the mission of this book, as these books tend to go. But in the epilogue, Rachel types out a letter to Melissa, letting her know that her father loves her more than she knows and more than he can show her, and just leaves that in her locker. And that's the note we end on, except for Marco reacting in horror to the phrase "next time," and Tobias reminding them that until the Andalites come and help them, there'll always have to be a next time, because they got to keep fighting.
Yeah, but Marco is still he's very much on the the fence. He would rather forget that this is happening. Still, I think, but I believe it's Tobias is the next book, so I'm going to hazard a guess that it's going to be Cassie after that, then Marco.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I went with the logic of they're probably going to go boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, and then possibly either go back and do it in the same order or mix it up a bit after that.
Yeah.
And I'd read and I'd had a quick look at the third one and saw it was in Tobias's perspective.
Yeah, that is that will be Animorphs: The Encounter, which was the second one I read at school, because that was what was in the reading box. I hadn't read this one until this year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, these first two stories have been the drawing in of the characters into the fight and sort of like deciding what they're fighting for. Because Rachel, well, Jake is sort of very selfishly, he's fighting for his brother and to free him specifically. As while Rachel is sort of like what she's fighting for is encapsulated by Melissa, it's a bit more of a wider view thing of she's fighting for all the kids who are essentially crying themselves to sleep, wondering why their parents don't love them anymore.
Yeah.
Or so yeah. While Melissa is the symbol of that, it's outright stated she's fighting for a lot more.
And she hates the Yerks for what they do to families like that.
Yeah. Whereas Jake, even though he's saying he's fighting all of Yerks, he very much seems to be driven of, I'm fighting Yerks to free my brother. I don't know whether it will expand beyond that. Whether my impression of him will expand beyond that, rather than will the text outright say it expands beyond that. Because I'm going to hazard a guess of yes, if he is sort of the leader of the group.
Yeah.
It will expand beyond that, but whether my impression changes, we will see.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the end of the story, and I quite like this one. I'm not sure why I like this one in particular next to some others, but I do like the more personal stake that it introduces, and, well, Rachel's reason for committing to the fight specifically. It's a nice grand idea that she can hold on to. Yeah. And also, I like the cat morph and the description of how confident she suddenly is. It's like, I was a combination of Rachel and Fluffer. What would I have to fear from Visser 3?
Yeah. Yeah. It is very interesting, sort of like how the the animal personalities affect the Animorph. And I think this one gave us more of a chance to sort of explore that as well.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, the last one had to establish a lot of groundwork.
Yeah. It's not a bad book. It's sort of like one that is sort of like 70 odd pages and they're having to establish like the rules of the story that can't really be established in later ones, which is the entire premise of the story has to be established in that first one basically. They still managed to get you on board and make the characters likable. There's part of me that's wanting to search for a different word than likable, and it's not relatable, but I cannot think what it is offhand.
Yeah. Well, likable works.
Yeah. Is there something that was a bit more
understandable?
It's probably sort of a word there's a thing you'll encounter a bit more in a slightly more pretentious literary review, rather than the word likable. But They feel more.
sympathetic.
Yeah, sympathetic also works. I think it's sort of like the idea is more like they feel more real than a lot of characters can in sort of a long-running short story form thing series. That was the word I was looking for that time.
Yeah, as I say, these hold up really well for what they are.
Yeah, because sort of like one of the things with short stories is, and that can weaken a lot of short stories, is they're so short, but you don't put enough in to make the characters actually seem worth relating to. It's something I struggled with when I did short stories at first. Like, I would either put in too much that it upsets the flow of the stories, or I'd put in too little and you'd wonder why you'd care for them.
Yeah. These very much seem to be that each story has a mission. They're quite episodic like that. Each story presents a task for them to complete.
Yeah, it's the problem of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is not a bad way to do sort of like, as I say, these books are sub 100 pages on average. I think both of them have been 74 on the thing I'm using.
Yeah, the PDF thing. Well, they're numbered at like 150 to 180 pages on the Kindle, but I have it on the smallest print, so one turn of the page seems to be 2 pages to me, so it's probably about the same.
Yeah, it's I think we're reading them on A4 and it's built for A5.
Ah, yeah,
Like,
that'll
they're
be it.
written on A5. So like for us, that's like sub 100 pages, but that's 100 pages of A4.
Yeah.
So it's twice the size, so half the number of pages. So it's still a lot to get in. Sort of like there's not really wasted space.
No, it's very tightly paced.
Yeah, which is something I think a lot of there are still like a lot of authors who do waste space on it, or at least people who read them will think they've wasted space on it. George R.R. Martin and J.R.R. Tolkien are two I know who get accused of wasting space because they do long descriptions of things like meals or trees.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like it's world setting, and they are very different sort of styles to a lot of the things that don't get so much accused of wasting space, which tend to be a lot shorter and a lot less epic sweeping narrative.
Yeah.
And also, when George R.R. Martin starts writing long things about meals, you know someone's about to die who you care about.
Yeah.
He is giving you time to prepare yourself emotionally for a character to be brutally murdered.
Indeed. I likened these books, I was talking to you in the week, I likened them to a roguelike video game. In that...
Yes, I get where you're coming from on that, but my thoughts on that were sort of like...
It was a bit of a clumsy comparison, I'll grant you, but...
Yeah, well, a roguelike video game is sort of a more broke down... Sort of like, in terms of video game mechanics, is a more broke down method of telling a story. Like, it's broken down into its more simpler elements. And so rather than sort of trying to weave more complex things together, it's sort of like, no, we've broken it down into the ingredients. We don't have a cake, we have a flour, egg, and butter. That is a roguelike. And slowly but surely you make the cake over it. And it's that approach to storytelling, rather than slowly lifting the cover over the cake that was made before you bought it.
Yeah.
So this is sort of like we're uncovering things, but we're also making things together. So
it's
God, that whole thing just escaped me completely because I forgot half of what I was going to say on it.
It's world building by I don't know how to say it. The stories just sort of like stack on top of each other to paint a ever more detailed picture each time.
Yeah, well, it's the benefit of a long series, I suppose. It's just sort of like there
Yeah.
is more to bring into it, as opposed to like, well, to do the Lord of the Rings again, bring it in. They had a total of 3 books. Tolkien had basically written 12,000 years worth of lore for these stories. Tried to fit it into 3 books. Most of it in the
Well,
appendices.
he considers Lord of the Rings. Well, I think he considered Lord of the Rings a single novel.
Yeah, he wanted to release it as a single novel, but just because of the sheer size of it and the cost of printing at the time, no publisher was willing to take the risk. So they broke it down into 3,
Yeah.
and it became sort of like the publisher's biggest success ever. So, yeah, but I understand why they did it, but I also would have thought, what could it have been like if it had just released as a singular whole, as a singular book instead of a trilogy?
I have the 1-volume edition. It's 1,006 pages long for just the
Yeah,
the stories and not counting the appendices.
yeah, of course, some of the most important details of Tolkien's world are in the appendices, like the fact that none of the hobbits are called what they're called throughout the text.
Yeah, that's a translation error apparently.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to go briefly into this. And we should probably get back to the animal. There's actually a conceit with the Lord of the Rings that doesn't get spoken about a lot when talking about it. The conceit is this this is a translation of the Red Book, in which the Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings, and then Sam wrote in their adventures. So the Red Book of the Shire. This is ostensibly the Lord of the Rings is Tolkien translating that book into English. That is the extra sort of conceit around the Lord of the Rings that doesn't get spoken of a lot.
Yeah.
Which is why in the appendices we learn that that Merry, Pippin, Frodo, and Sam have different names, have actual different names that fit in with the Elvish language, with the languages within Middle Earth.
Yeah.
So and you can just tell it is a man who loves the written word and mythology more than anything else apart from his wife. It's just sort of like is because Tolkien's wife, one of the foundational parts of the lore, or is sort of like the great love of which Aragorn and Arwen are like a distant echo of, but they make reference to that legendary story in the text of Aragorn. I think quotes some of it to Arwen, and is like the most beautiful, most fair, and most brilliant woman to have ever lived. Is not Galadriel, despite what a lot of people will say within the text itself, but it is actually the character based on Tolkien's wife.
Ah.
It's just like, and this is why very few men can live up to the standards of Tolkien. I will create an entire world that will outlive us by decades, where you are the most perfect woman who has ever lived. Because this is how I see you. And others deserve to know that this is how I see you and what you are like. And men everywhere else will go, I got her some flowers. They're half dead as I got them from the petrol station as I forgot to stop by a florist's. There's Tolkien, who's just sort of like, my faith may be important, my writing may be important. They are as nothing as to my love for you. Yeah. No matter how good a man is after that, they are just comparatively of, I just remembered on the last minute it's your birthday, so here's some flowers from the gas station.
Yeah. I mean, good luck competing with Tolkien in that regard.
I competed with Tolkien in a lot of regards, including being a nerd about the English language. There was professors of Tolkien at Oxford University who are still nowhere near as nerdy about the English language as Tolkien is. But yeah.
I'm sure
Anyway,
we'll cover some Tolkien at some point.
and honestly, it is a good contender for classics.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially as we'll have a gap coming up for that long before we get to the gap of the Animorphs.
Oh
Or the
yes.
end of the Animorphs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it was an enjoyable story this week. You can on me is sort of like, as I said, the motivation, the radicalization feels like the wrong term, but it gets the idea across best, I think, for sort of like how they're now determined to be the soldiers in the fight.
Yeah. Motivation, I think, would be a
Yeah,
better one. Because
yeah, but
well, it obviously they knew intellectually that the Yerks could be anyone they knew or loved, and obviously they knew that that would damage families and relationships. But it's another thing to see it happen in front of you.
yeah, I the reason why I shy away from the word radicalization is because of the negative connotations it has and sort of terrorism in the modern day.
Yeah.
Whereas radicalization is actually just a sort of coming to and accepting sort of like a belief system based upon something you have witnessed or behaviors or something. Is like
That was how I was using the term.
yeah, it's just making it clear that it's sort of this is the way it means of encountering. We mean it encountering something that helps shore up beliefs. It's just sort of like in this case that we must fight and we are fighting on behalf of protecting something, as opposed to someone who is radicalized into a dangerous belief.
So you
by
weren't
being-
talking about terrorist animals. No, we're talking about freedom fighter animals, Seth.
which admittedly to the Yerks are probably how they would refer to them, terrorist animals. I was dealing with cicadas and cicada season. God damn it, they are. I'm gonna have to explain that now, aren't I? In case cicadas are insect that make a hell of a noise when it's mating season, which is once every 7 years. They live underground normally, and then when they come up, they are just a plague of noise and destroyed crops. So it's just sort of like they could make locusts look positively chill on like how much they eat when they come up. But yeah, they live underground for 7 years and then come up to get jiggy with it.
Yeah.
Which is not a sentence I saw myself ever saying, but here we are.
Yeah. But yeah, I quite enjoyed revisiting The Visitor, which is a pun I did not intend until I said it.
Yeah, I've just spotted. Yes, Seb,
Do
do
these
you
freedom
have a mating season, or is that just you finally getting your rocks off?
do these freedom fighters engage in guerrilla warfare?
I
I mean,
imagine
Marco
not
was a
shooting,
guerrilla in the last book. Sorry, Dan. What was it?
I was just making a bit more fun on sort of Seb's one. It's like, to be fair, I make a hell of a noise when it comes to mating season. Just imagine all the noise you make and then have a few million of that happening simultaneously. And that's the cicadas. But yes, technically one of them does engage in warfare as a guerrilla. Marco is...
Yeah. Nobody has made the guerrilla warfare pun yet.
I'm frankly ashamed at both of us that Seb beat us to it, and it still was a book late.
No, I wasn't talking about. I mean, in the books, I don't think anybody has made that pun.
Okay. I'm still ashamed that Seb beat us to it, and it was still a book late.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good, a nice little adventure. That sounds like I'm diminishing it. It was a good story.
Yeah,
Nice personal stakes.
yeah, and it also continues sort of like building on some of the stuff. Like Cassie is clearly the one who will be is like clearly the most skilled morpher. Marco's still not sure about it. Tobias is still the one shows a lot of caring towards Rachel, in which she showed some caring towards him in the first one.
Yeah.
So sort of like the romantic couplings are bit sort of being drawn up.
Yeah. And well, there was hints of Rachel and Tobias liking each other in the last one. Not so much in this one.
And Tobias is certainly keeping a closer eye on Rachel than a lot of the others are.
Yeah. But yeah, that was Animorphs the Visitor. Good book overall, I thought.
Yeah.
In a way that many of these are. This is a series of adding to foundations, really.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how they how it moves on and doesn't feel because I'm gonna say there's a risk with series like this where they sort of do the adventure of the week, where it doesn't feel like they're just repeating the same sort of adventures at this time. But I'm going to hazard a guess that it's going to get wackier sooner or later.
It does feel like that a couple of times now and then, but generally speaking, I think they manage the developing of the series quite well.
Yeah.
At least as far as I've got. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's probably all we've got to say on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there this week for Tome Raider. Sorry, I'm talking a little punchy. I'm very warm and tired. But you can join us next week for the next part of our Sherlock Holmes deep dive in a slightly earlier spot and the same day of the week. And if you miss us before that, we'll be back on this channel tomorrow night playing Ghost of Yotei for Assassin Sunday.
Yep.
I also have Mafia Monday, Yakuza Like a Dragon on Mondays, Final Fantasy X on Tuesdays, and D&D on Wednesdays over on twitch.tv/eclectichawk, where we'll be starting Goblins vs Icewind Dale. Another Goblin campaign, which, I mean, the last one was fun, Goblins vs Strahd, which you were part of. I don't really do Saturday streams as such anymore, other than this one. So yeah, that'll be my... that's my schedule. Thanks for joining us, and thanks Seb for commenting and listening to us talk about Animorphs. I like talking about books. We will see you. Book. We'll see you.